Okay, we're good? Okay. Good afternoon. It's great to have you all here for Chicago Day. Woo! Let's hear it for Chicago Day. Who's from Chicago? Woo! All right, I'm Meena Beyers. I'm Vice President of Business and Community Development for Nicor Gas. We deliver energy to 2.3 million customers across Illinois and are always working with startups to help improve how we are becoming more sustainable in Illinois and as a part of the clean energy future. And I couldn't be more excited to be with this panel today. You know, Chicagoland is a global epicenter for clean energy innovation. We're a top metro in corporate investment. We have leading research universities. We have 2 national labs. We have several innovation hubs and many incubators for startups as well, and really strong collaboration between the public and private sectors and with startups. And all of this means Chicago is the place for startups in climate tech, and that's what we're talking about today. So I'm thrilled to have some of the leading ladies in Chicago's climate tech ecosystem to talk about their companies, the ups and downs of this really important work, and of course why Chicago is where they are taking root. So I'd love to start with introductions. So if you could please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company. Start with Joanne.
I'm Joanne Rodriguez. I'm the founder and CEO of Mycocycle. We train mushrooms to eat trash and create renewable bio-based raw materials. 11% of all the world's greenhouse gas emissions come from materials in the built environment, and we're decarbonizing that in partnership with nature. We're happy to be building in Chicago.
Woo! All right, thanks. Sophia?
My name is Sophia Wennstedt. I have lost my voice this week, having lots of exciting conversations. I'm the founder and CEO at Blip Energy. We're building a smart home battery for apartments to provide critical backup power, energy bill savings, and to help build a better, smarter grid for all of us.
Awesome. Manuela?
Hi, everybody. My name is Manuela Zoninsein. I'm the CEO and founder of Kadeya. We have a path to eliminate the need for single-use beverage containers forever for everyone. So actually, maybe I'll get the attention of people over by the bar and the attention of the people getting food. Raise your hand if you're holding a single-use beverage container.
Yeah.
Raise your hand. Raise your single-use beverage container, actually. Let's see it. Kadeya can eliminate the need for every single one of those containers and still deliver you the product that you are enjoying at this moment at lower cost. And the way that we do that is we've designed a bottling plant that is the size of a vending machine. Like a vending machine, we vend you beverages conveniently on demand. Unlike a vending machine, you return our forever bottle to any station in the network. Think city bikes for bottles. And then our patented station itself washes, sanitizes, inspects, and then refills the bottle for you at the station, which, as I mentioned, reduces costs a third, eliminates plastic waste 99.9%, and eliminates the carbon footprint 75%. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Sammie?
Awesome, and a little bit different. I'm on the venture side up here. I'm Sammie Hasen, an analyst at TechNexus Venture Collaborative. TechNexus enables corporations to collaborate with early stage startups through venture investing. Really what we're trying to do here is create bespoke venture ecosystems around corporations that enable growth, innovation that benefits both the startups and our corporate partners. And a little context as to why I'm up here. We have a few partners in the recreational manufacturing space that are building electric concepts for their products. So we help find startups that can boost that innovation and get them where they need to be to ensure adoption of their products on the market.
Awesome, great. So from a corporate perspective, you know, trying to solve for climate change, we're always partnering with startups and trying to find different solutions. And one thing I find really unique about Chicagoland is the collaboration when it comes to investment in those sectors. So much of what we see is predictive analytics and AI, and with all 3 of our founders here, they're all focused in hard tech, which is pretty exciting. So this is for Joanne and Sophia. Can you share a little bit about your experience in hard tech and collaboration in the Chicago region? How has it helped progress your technology?
I could speak for Sophia. No. So I think there are innate challenges to building a hardware deliverable, especially in climate tech, especially in the Midwest, especially in Chicago. But because I have colleagues that are also building in this space, we're able to network and get access to manufacturers, to other supply chain operators, and allows us to have a more cohesive discussion about the fact that hardware builders, particularly in climate tech, are viable. They don't need additional CapEx. They're not bleeding resources. As a female founder, I get that question times 100. Like, how would I know about climate tech? or hardware. I worked for 30 years in construction products and material manufacturing. I know I don't look like a brick chick or a roof product supplier, but I am. And so I bring all of that experience, just like any man in the world would, to the table to say, this is how we do it. And so I can reach out into my networks and I can introduce my colleagues building hardware as well into those networks. And we can have these discussions to level the playing field. And that's why I find it like to be great in Chicago and building and have corporate access as well.
Yeah,
so,
and that industrial know-how.
Well, it is the industrial know-how. There's a certain amount of grit, and there's no quit here. We're not doing it because we didn't have anything better to do. We're doing it because we want to see a better future for ourselves, for our families, for the environment. And we feel that Industry 4.0 is female, and we can get it done in the right way with less resources in a shorter amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just add to that. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, enough.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
There's a great ecosystem around hardware in Chicago. M-Hub is a fantastic resource.
That's how we met.
That's how we met originally. Mm-hmm. Many of their LPs are manufacturers, so they've got a really great ecosystem there. They provide manufacturing resources and connections to not just prototype, but to get things built long term.
Yeah.
And so I think that network and that ecosystem in Chicago is very strong.
It's fantastic, yeah. Anyone else, anything to add on hardware? Manuela, maybe share with us, you're in hardware too. Tell us some about so we heard about the opportunities and why Chicagoland is so great. That doesn't mean it's easy. So tell us about some of the headwinds and some of your experience being a female founder in hard tech.
Yeah, and I think Joanne started to touch on this already. I think you, as a female founder, period, you walk into any room and it's sort of, you're fighting against the assumption that you don't know what you're talking about. So you start with like a demerit before you've even begun. And that's the same as well, I would say, selling into industrial environments. My customers are manufacturing plants, construction sites, military bases. We won 2 contracts with the U.S. Air Force. And so recognizing that is the first step. We're not going to change the world overnight. I think the second piece is it forces us to be much smarter and much more precise with the time that we have. You don't get a second chance as a woman, and you only constantly risk losing people's attention. They will turn you off if they feel like what you're saying didn't make sense, if your math didn't add up, if you spoke a sentence grammatically incorrectly, they will stop listening to you. And so I think it has forced that kind of discipline. And I'll tell you, for Kadeya, we workshopped our value proposition to death because we only would get that one chance to go and sell to a customer or to go talk to an investor. And we have to make sure to get it right. As a result, and the data proves this, women continuously deliver better returns on investment. The data shows, okay? So if you are a data-driven human being and you make decisions based on data, which not everybody does, but if you do, the data shows that women are actually a better investment. So I keep that in mind, and that's how I build my prep and my pitches. Also, I have an incredible team. And I know we'll get to this a little bit later, but building the team and then choosing investors who are going to be on your cap table, I think there's a really rapid filter that you, as a female, an underrepresented founder, a person of color, person in the Midwest, that allows you to really quickly figure out if someone's worth your time.
Yeah.
Because if they're not going to take you seriously because you look different, you sound different, you come from a different place, you don't want them around you anyway.
Right.
We're trying to change the world here.
Yeah.
We're trying to do things differently than they've been done before. And I don't have time for someone who's not ready to look at the world with fresh eyes. So I think going back to your question, being in Chicago, being a female founder, being in hard tech, being in climate tech, being industrial, like everything's against us, and it almost liberates you to go out and figure out what the actual problem is and focus only on the problem. None of us are in it for the glory. We're in it to win it.
That's right.
Well,
I'll leave it at that.
I wanted to add to that. So we talk about Chicago, but we can't overlook the state of Illinois.
Yeah.
And I heard the statistic this morning loud and clear that 1.1% of all capital goes to female-founded companies. I am happy to say that we closed our round yesterday. I'm part of that 1.1%, but one of our investors in that round was the state of Illinois through their Invent Fund, and they're putting their money where their mouth is. They're investing to keep companies in the Midwest, to keep companies in Illinois, because we have the greatest ecosystem academically, of industry, of corporate, and they're recognizing that. So this is the second, our bridge round. This is the first time I've had 2 Midwest investors in the round. So I do feel like it's starting to resonate.
Let's see it grow, right? We need more.
Yes.
We need more. So, Sammie, you bring the investor perspective to this. So tell us, what are you seeing in the investment space, particularly in hard tech and Chicago and climate tech? And, do you have any predictions for where we're headed?
Sure, yeah. I mean, similar to what Joanne was just saying, it's hard to raise capital right now. Everyone's feeling that. A lot of factors of that, macroeconomic conditions we're seeing, supply chain vulnerabilities, we're seeing geopolitical uncertainty. We have an election year. We don't know what's going to happen after that. And high interest rates. All these do impact venture investments. And we have seen an uptick in bridge rounds, which signals it's tough out there to have capital, leaning on your insider investors to get a little more traction to hit that next milestone, to do a more formal raise, and anticipate that might be a continued trait throughout the next year. That could be a potential. When I think actually towards the climate space in particular, what's really interesting, I saw a report from the Clean Investment Monitor that said there was about $239 billion invested last year in clean investments. That was up 38% from the previous year. So there is growth there. Yeah. Within that, there was about $33 billion going towards clean energy, transportation, which was a 153% increase from the previous year.
That's incredible.
We're seeing a lot of growth when it comes to energy, transportation. And where I think a lot of that's coming from our experience is we need more EVs on the road. There's goals in place from the administration to go from 3 million today to 33 million in 2030. That gives us 6 years to 10x what we have on the road now. And as you know, being in Nicor, the energy space, it's not just about getting more EVs on the road. It's about building charging infrastructure, building out energy and grid reliance and microgrids, virtual power plants. It's an entire ecosystem that I believe that will continue to get money. I think it's important. These goals need to be met, and early stage innovators are the way to do that.
Yeah.
And where we like to play and support the early stage with the corporate, I think what's really exciting here is we're able to help founders and corporations speak to each other rather than through each other. And through that, we're able to see really exciting collaborations that could potentially save our founders some time. Maybe a corporate partner understands the supplier distribution channels a little bit better and could save you a huge headache of going with one way or another. So we're able to enable our founders to be as successful, innovate as quickly as possible. So that's kind of what I'm excited about. I think themes as well.
Yeah.
Hydrogen fuel we were discussing really briefly. I think there's a lot of opportunity there for industrials, heavy duty trucking. And then for our corporate partners, we work with Thor Industries in the RV space. they're building an electric concept that's a fairly underutilized vehicle. It'll sit in the garage or in your driveway most of the time. So with that comes a huge opportunity for bidirectional charging. That could feed into the energy problem.
Yeah.
So lots of opportunities here. I'm really excited about what's to come, and I think it will be continued growth, continued support. So I'm really excited.
I love that. And I know that's what we see a lot in our ecosystem is a real curiosity about, like, what are your problems in climate, right? And what are the problems that you're solving for, and really doing that matchmaking with the universities and with the startups, which is, it streamlines.
Exactly.
It's like we're here and ready to listen because we know you're solving our problems.
Yeah.
So that's another strength of Chicago's ecosystem.
Could I add something really
please.
quickly? Just now that we've gotten the investor point of view, as I was listening to you, every single trend that she mentioned, every segment requires a physical solution.
Yeah,
Okay?
that's right.
About 70% of climate tech has to come from hardware.
Yeah.
And the beauty of being in the Midwest is that we are all located right where everything is going to be produced, and or if you're servicing industrials, where your customers already are. So I'm getting inbound from old friends in New York City being like, hey, I have a robotic solution, I have a hardware solution, I need access to manufacturers, either as customers or as suppliers.
Yeah.
Do you know any? And I'm like, yeah, I do, but you got to move to Chicago or the Midwest and come set up
exactly.
shop and start building those relationships, because I'm not going to do that for you.
Yeah.
That's a job. That's a full-time job. So to your point about, the challenges, tailwinds and headwinds of the Midwest, I think like that's the opportunity. And then you talked about high interest rates and the macro environment. I think, and you all can disagree, but I think this is a reset to a new normal that isn't going away. And I think that the bubble has burst, and now it's back to basics, and it's back to building real businesses that can scale and generate, venture scale returns. And I think Chicago has been operating in that environment for the last decade. And that's something that we've talked about. Chicago's a more conservative financing environment. We've all been operating in that environment. We've all been dealing with it. So now this reset is maybe a reset for everyone on the coasts, but it's not a reset for us.
No,
this has been normal for us.
I feel like it's an advantage because Midwest investors have like alligator arms, right? They can't quite reach the pockets. They want everything de-risked. They want a clear path to revenue, even if they're the first check. I'm the first check. When are you exiting? I'm like, give me a break, right? I haven't even entered yet. But the reality is we have to be so sharp on our financials, on our pro formas, that now we could do the financial walkthroughs and say, we're going to be margin positive with EBITDA contribution by X. It's been a learning, and it has changed from over the last 18 months dynamically. But for us, we've had to do that. And we are, like Missouri, the show me state. We have to show, and probably to the nth degree, that it's not even a climate solution, it's a hardware solution. And I would just say for any of the builders out there, if you, every solution is a climate solution right now.
Yeah,
We're
that's
not
right.
going to app
Every
our way
industry.
through it, so I'm not going to offend anybody who's investing in apps, but that's not the solution to the climate issue. But no, I happen to agree. I think that it's just made us sharper, made us more ready, and definitely more investable.
Yeah. Well, and I think going back to Manuela's point about being Chicago, that's where the ecosystem, that's where the investment is. I have to give a shout out to World Business Chicago and the state of Illinois and Intersect Illinois. It has been a real strategic play to make Illinois and Chicagoland the center for industrial growth in clean and climate tech, from sustainable aviation fuels to EVs, batteries, solar panel production. I mean, all of these different industries are coming to Illinois and coming to Chicagoland because, they can tap into the startup economy and this ecosystem to continue to innovate and grow. So that's such an important part of it. I want to pivot a little bit because we've all talked about being female in the industry. And certainly today, Chicago Day has been a real celebration of women in innovation. And of course, that's the case here with this panel. I know my experience, I'm an executive in the corporate sector. I'm a woman of color. I'm a daughter of immigrants. I'm the mother of biracial children. So all of those things together, those intersections, shape how I lead with purpose. And so I'm wondering, I know the same is true for this diverse panel. So could you share a little bit about diversity, equity, and inclusion and how that plays a role in your purpose and the way that you drive your business?
I could start. I mean, I have 2 daughters. One of them is here. and you could be what you could see. But I was in corporate in a male-dominated field. There was definitely a glass ceiling there. I can remember speaking on a panel at Clinton Global Initiative for Hillary Clinton. It was the launch of her No Ceilings initiative. And I was the token female for my industry and for my company. And it was so insignificant to them that they didn't even report on it. Like they didn't even care, right? Just to give it into context. And I sat there and I looked at the other women and I said, the next time I'm on a panel like this, it will be for my company. That was the day I quit that company, like in my mind. And it was within 6 months I was out. I didn't know what I was going to do. And so I just think I build a different company that's inclusive of everybody. We look at all levels of education. We have economic development programs that we build in. And partnering with nature, I mean, we're literally emulating nature's processes. There's a lot of reciprocity. We're very regenerative as a result. And so it's a very collaborative environment. You may come from a completely different industry into ours. In fact, we just celebrated the 2-year anniversary of one of our employees, Ben Knutson, sorry. I mixed them up. Ben Knutson. He's been with us for 2 years. He was a restaurant server who had quit and was looking for something different, and now we couldn't live without him. So, I mean, I think DEI, you have to take a look at education, opportunity, background, as well as how do we make it a safe place for women to come in, as well as for women to lead.
The psychological safety.
It is a psychological state, and, I treat people the way I'd like to be treated. And I want for my daughters to be able to see that they could carve out a niche and do the things that they want to do. You just have to go out and do it and work hard. So,
yeah, fuck yeah. We think about equity a lot at Blip. We are building a battery not for a luxury segment, but for everyone else.
Yeah.
We wanted to design something that works for apartments.
Yeah.
We think that everyone deserves to be a part of the climate transition. Everyone has a bit of a responsibility, but everyone also deserves to reap some of the benefit.
Yeah.
Why should only folks in single-family homes be able to save money on their energy bill with a battery?
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah, you've got this real environmental economic justice component in Blip Energy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's central to exactly what we're building. We didn't want to we're not taking market share from Tesla. We're serving everyone they don't serve and everyone they're not serving. And so that's a massive market. It's more than half of all U.S. households are rentals, multifamily.
Yep.
So it's core to our mission is to serve the folks that don't have another option.
Yeah, absolutely. Manuela?
Yeah, so when I started up here on the panel, right, I mentioned that we aim to eliminate the need for single-use beverage containers forever, for everyone, for everywhere. And what that means is we have to design our stations today to not only serve the industrial customers that I mentioned are our go-to-market target, or to serve the people around us here, but I want to serve everybody. I want every human being I want to build the final stock of all beverage containers for all of humanity. Literally, I want you to be able to fly from O'Hare Airport to LaGuardia Airport with your Kadeya bottle and drop it off and get another Kadeya bottle and go to your hotel and drop it off and get another Kadeya bottle and go to your gym and on and on and on. And do that beyond the United States as well. So that means that from day one, we have to be thinking about that global use case and that global environment. And so hiring people not only from Chicagoland with diverse backgrounds, but actually international backgrounds has been a really central part of our strategy. I myself am an immigrant. I was born in Brazil, moved to the States when I was a kid. We have someone from Mexico, we have someone from India, we have someone from France, and we have someone from Greece. And I'm already in touch with people throughout the African continent who I would like to expand with. I'm in touch with people throughout Latin America who I want to expand with. So I'm thinking about those use cases from day one, and being able to have that kind of brain trust within the company in the early days is really critical to us being able to do that. So DEI for us ends up really being strategic to the success of the company today, but also long term.
Yeah, absolutely. Sammie, what are you seeing on the investor side?
Yeah, I would say we have a big focus to improve our own DEI initiatives. So we have an internal task force that cover a lot of different facets within our business. I sit a lot on the investing metrics side, and how is we as investors, how are we able to meet diverse founders where they are and support them? And unfortunately, we do operate in very industrial sectors that there's frankly not that much diversity, but that can't be an excuse. We need to think, how can we teach women, people of color, to be starting businesses earlier? Is it getting people in high school, like getting more entrepreneurship classes? Like, how can we create more entrepreneurs moving forward, so we can't use that as an excuse anymore?
Right.
And there's also a lot of great groups like Women in Aviation, Women in Mobility and Automotive. There's probably some founders there, or maybe future founders. So we really are trying to make more of a focus to meet these people where they are and ensure that we're able to support them, give them a platform, and help them grow successful venture scalable businesses.
Yeah, fantastic. And again, I think that is something really unique in Chicago, is the focus on investment in women, in diverse founded businesses, and really, rallying around them to be able to make sure we center that investment. So thank you so much. So, this is the question that, if you're with World Business Chicago, they always ask this question, which is, why Chicago? So we want to go down the line, and if you can share with us, why is Chicago uniquely positioned to accelerate your important work?
I would say, why not Chicago?
Yeah.
I'm always going to come back with why not Chicago. I mean, I live there. I remember turning down an accelerator twice that wanted me to spend 4 months in the Bay Area away from my family so I could have the moment to share beers after hours with all the other founders. And I'm like, I don't need that. What I do get from Chicago is meeting Sophia from Cohorts.
Yeah.
Meeting Manuela from Cohorts, working with TechNexus and their corporate innovators. We have the opportunity to get connected to everybody, to be embedded in a national lab. I'm at Argonne National Lab. We have 2 different national labs to choose from, and then having the best workforce from all of the universities, University of Chicago, DePaul, IIT, UIC, we've got Loyola, and then we have all of the other ones, right? Who am I forgetting? Northwestern.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry. I mean, I started a Booth Kellogg war there inadvertently. So, but no, I mean, I would just say that's all the reasons. Plus, I mean, transportation. When you're building hardware, you've got to get your ship places. You got to get your stuff places. So being there where we have logistics everywhere, it only makes sense for me economically to be there.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. Sophia.
Yeah, I think Chicago's a great place to build climate tech because it's not on fire.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we have the ability to look forward because we're not on fire today.
Yeah.
And I think that's really powerful, and it allows
huge.
us to run fast in the right direction.
Yeah, that's huge. Manuela?
Yeah, I've talked a lot about why Chicago already, but something that I think is relatively new is Chicago and the kind of broader Chicagoland area is becoming a big hub for water technology and water innovation.
Yes.
So Current, which is a big local nonprofit, just is part of a $160 million award from the federal government to build Chicago into a water tech hub. We just got into a really awesome accelerator program with the Water Council, which is headquartered in Milwaukee, which is where all the beer brewers used to be. And so they've really tried to convert their know-how in brewing beer now into more water focus. Obviously, the Great Lakes. So for Kadeya specifically, being able to say, look, there's a great drinking water resource here. And this is something that we need to protect and also something that we can leverage to continue to have access to great quality drinking water. We got to deal with lead pipes, for sure. Chicago's the worst city in the country for that, but that's why Kadeya is here, because we filter out lead to make sure that you can drink your great Lake Michigan water without any waste. So that's why Chicago for us.
Yeah, fantastic. Sammie.
Yeah, I would say it was touched on a lot, but it really is a great place to build hardware, physical products. There's just a great atmosphere and energy in Chicago for those areas. Like, for instance, one of our portfolio companies, Nanograph, they're building battery materials, and they're building one of the first large-scale plants in Chicago. They already have a site up and running, and they're going to expand. So, one, that's great. Two, we have Goshen building a $2 billion battery plant in Chicago. Companies are coming there to build, and we know that. We're seeing that.
Yep.
And there's just great support. We have M-Hub that supports all our hard tech founders, really allowing them to build and innovate. And then there's a great team at the Illinois Department of Commerce. They have an electric mobility and innovation team that is trying to get more corporations, more founders in Chicago to build and really support EV infrastructure and energy and all this great stuff. And it just seems like everyone wants Chicago to win in this space. They've been doing it for so long, and it's really time to get more credit for what we're building.
Yeah, absolutely. I think definitely that focus on economic development, and again, the collaborative approach. You know, the governor calls it Team Illinois. It's like all hands on deck to attract those businesses, to attract that investment, to build the ecosystem, to build that support. So we have a few minutes for questions, if there are any questions. Anybody have any questions for the panelists? Okay. Well, this has been an awesome discussion. I'm fortunate to be a part of your ecosystem and to watch the amazing work you do every day and to see how it's going to grow and change the world. So thank you for that. So please join me in thanking these great panelists for today.
Thank you, Meena.
Thank you. Okay, all done.